I give all praise and glory to Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shai Bahasham Ha Rakak Kwadash. Double honors unto our apostle elders, which rule Great Millstone well, and Shalom to the hopeful elect of the nation of Israel, Wa Abba Babal. So, this is a good example why not to trust in the gun, all right, which in the book of Abba Bivens, the marks of a lost tribe, he said a good point in there of being deceived, thinking that you have the same rights of the so-called Caucasian, which are the Edomites, the wicked that rule the world. Just because they call you a citizen, they do not give you the equal rights of a so-called Caucasian U.S. citizen, which I had this example given to me firsthand. I had some people violently trying to invade my property, and so I was armed and I called the police, and the police came and they said, I was talking to them, and I even recorded it for, legal reasons, but the deputy and pretty much the sheriff's department told me, even though we have the law stand your ground in Colorado, that declares if someone violently, which even words, them threatening to hurt you, us being what they call so-called minorities, are under attack and we use self-defense, that they'll charge us and put us in jail. So it made me think of the scripture of King David, I will not trust in my bow, which I will get later. But right now, I'm going to read this article. It says, man arrested after fatally shooting neighbor he believed was a bear invading his chicken coop in the middle of the night. It says Ariel Gonzalez Rodriguez, 25, was arrested on a manslaughter with a firearm charge in connection with the death of 30-year-old Jason Shiffield, which I guarantee that's a Edomite, the Shiffield, and he was probably a drunk ass piece of shit that was always harassing this so-called Mexican, or they call them Hispanics, or so-called Latinos. And even though he's a so-called as they say, fair skin or light skin, even considered so-called white, you can see that he's a Mexican, all right, or a Hispanic or Latino. And this is why he got charged, even though he was defending his property, he was defending his animals, and he said he thought it was a bear. If a so-called white man did this, he would be in his rights. But because we're what they call so-called minorities, but we're really the majority, all right? We're not the minority, we're the majority, all right? But they call us different names. They try to make us out to be the savages because they oppress us. The so-called white race, the red devil the Bible speaks of, they are the weaker race and they oppress us with their laws, all right? And once again, like I said, I've experienced this firsthand. That's why you don't want to trust in the gun. Really, they want you to use a gun so they can lock you up and throw you under the jail. Though they say you're a citizen and you have civil rights, constitutional rights, they lie to you. I have been to civil rights lawyers, constitutional lawyers, and they don't even want to take up my case, even though it's a clear case of civil right violation, because we don't have the same rights of the so-called Caucasian, because they're the wicked that rule the world, all right, and they have enslaved the so-called Negro, Latino, and Native American Indian, and this is why they're going to come down with great wrath, knowing that they have but a short time through the prophecies. You have the prophets, and that's really uh, a, a, a spiritual sword, is to tell the truth. It's better than a physical sword, all right? Because with a physical sword, they could use it against you, all right? They have more swords than you, and also they are able to use it against you. Though you think that you have citizenship rights, right? That's to deceive you, All right, you don't have the right to defend yourself in the eyes of the so-called white race who oppresses us. That's why if you defend yourself and you hurt one of them, they're going to charge you for defending yourself because we're slaves. All right. Now, I want to get this scripture here, Psalm 44:6, which this is a psalm of King David. All right. To the chief musicians, go to 43, 42, 41. A psalm of David. All right. And then it continues to 44, the same psalm of King David. To the chief musician for the sons of Korah, Mashal, which is music. We have heard with our ears our power. Our fathers have told us what work thou didst in their days, in the times of old. And then verse 6, for I will not trust in my bow, neither shall my sword save me. So remember that as Israelites, so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native American Indians, especially in America, all right, the bow and the sword will not save you, because Esau, that's his blessing. The so-called white man, he was blessed with the sword to take earth by violence. All right, he takes the peace from the earth, and he is a violent man. But if you use violence against him, he will use his wicked laws against you, which is their abominations. They're unjust. All right, so the bow and the sword will not save us. It says in verse 7, but thou hast saved us from our enemies and has put them to shame that hated us. So really, Yahweh is going to send his son Yahweh Shai to save us. All right? And this is our faith. This is our hope. This is our faith. Not that we are able to use the sword against them, which is their own blessing, but that we tell the truth, and Yahweh send his son Yahweh Shai to save us from our enemies. And your enemies are the other nations, starting with that so-called white race, the red devil the Bible speaks of. All right? He's the accuser of our brethren. He accuses us day and night in his court system. All right? Now, I brought out another scripture in Ecclesiasticus 12:10. It says in Ecclesiasticus 12:10, which obviously Esau's fucking with it and he didn't let it come up right at that chapter. So it says in Ecclesiasticus 12:10, never trust thine enemy, for like as iron rusteth, so is his wickedness. So don't think you're going to get a fair shot in their court system. Don't think that just because a sheriff or a deputy or a cop waves at you and says good morning or hello, right, that they see you as an equal. They're really in their heart, they want war with you. All right? Never trust your enemy. It says, for like as iron rusteth, so is his wickedness. See, so they're looking to entrap you. All right, and like Abba Bivens said in his book, it says in his book, The Marks of a Lost Tribe, they deceive you by calling you a citizen. All right, they don't see you as an equal citizen. That's why you don't have equal rights in their court system. You don't have the right to defend yourself. You don't have the right to a fair trial. They could beat you up. They could murder you. They could throw you in jail with false accusations. Never trust your enemy. Yahweh and his son Yahweh Shai will save us from our enemies, and their shame will be upon their head as well as their own blood. For they have made war with Yahweh and his son Yahweh Shai by touching his Israelites, especially the saints, the sanctified Israelites, which are sanctified by the word. Shalom to the elect of the nation of Israel. Wa abal babal.